All right, and we are back. So it is time to find out what is the firm, why it is firm, and where it is. So without further ado, and I think this might be the first thing we've done the entire night on schedule, I'm going to turn it over so that we can have Firmware 101. All right, so that last one was Marcel Marceau's new classic, Walking in the Wind. All right, sir, are you ready? You are unmuted, but we're not hearing you. Perhaps muted on something else. Or there are two mutes.
It is the legend of the hardware mute. Or perhaps something that could be troubleshooted.
The push to talk button.
Could be. Oh,
An
man,
incredibly big mute.
That would exacerbate it, right? Because if it's a deaf mute, then it's like we're not helping.
Are we talking about DEF CON?
Or would we?
No, it's a deaf mute, not a...
We'll get there, no worries. We can come up with more mute jokes.
I hate you.
Could be a firmware issue.
Could be. Hold on, I'm just going to give him my
Here
laptop.
we go. Is there anyone technical here that can help?
Fuck that noise.
Did you reboot 3 times?
If only there were a phone number that you
job.
could dial in and talk over your cell phone.
No. We hear you. Maybe.
Yeah.
You have to reboot 5 times if it's Linux or 6 times if it's Ubuntu.
It's Debian. Close enough.
Wow. Yesterday I had to reboot my furnace.
So how do I actually set this thing to go? Oh.
I like the implication that Debian is not Linux, by the way. Or Ubuntu, it's not Linux.
There you go.
I think it's Alt S by default to share your screen.
Great.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so hold on. Present.
So I can just see her creep in the background so I can hear and see this.
Yeah, okay. I guess it's not going to behave, so. Firmware 101. What is firmware? Why is it firm? Where is it? Answers for these questions and more now. So, what is firmware? Low-level shitty software that deals with hardware shit. At least that's the original definition. I totally did not look that up. Why is it firm? Beats me. These days, calling it permanent or read-only is like saying you have a highly secure building, but master passcode is sticking onto the front door. Where is it? There. Okay, so now on to a bit more of the technical detail. So SoIC flash chip. This is the common layout. And since we had, Raspberry Pi talk, and there was supposed to be another, I put on a diagram of the Raspberry Pi 2 and 3's GPIO pins, because you can use Raspberry Pi as a flasher. I would not recommend it. Coreboot is open source firmware used in almost all Chromebooks and various Linux-focused laptops, such as Purism Librem laptops. Does minimal hardware in it before handing off to a payload. It can range from BIOS or UEFI all the way to memtest or grub2. We've already heard grub2 about grub2 tonight. An Intel management engine is like Intel telling you to go fuck yourself. It has complete system access, can intercept everything and monitor everything, and it's so closed off that we don't know what the hell is going on. We can use MeCleaner to strip out most of the functionality, or even flip a hidden NSA disable bit, but it doesn't really do a complete removal or disabling. However, on older systems, Core 2 era, you can completely remove it if it's even present. Now, hopefully this is going to work well, but I want to do a live demo. This is going to, as we can already tell, things are not going to go too terribly well. So, yeah, let me switch over to my camera. If someone can prioritize my camera, can I prioritize my camera? How do I do that?
I suspect you need to turn your camera on first.
I'll just use, yeah.
There's an option to turn your camera on lower left next to the mute button.
I need to switch over to my, switch my system camera over to my dad's laptop. All credit to my dad for saving the day, by the way. Let's see if... Alrighty. So, oh. Hi, Dad.
I got you, kid.
He's working on it. Add this to shot number 1 or 2 or however many times I've already fucked up today.
Shout out Highland.
Space, the final friend.
I mean, you could fix that.
I can make you older. I can make you stop aging. Just a second. I gotta kill this. So.
All right, now I apologize, but we're going to be taking this laptop here. We're going to be installing Coreboot onto it. Let's see if we actually get to that. Let me just get my mics, not my mic, web camera set up here. So if I don't.
This might be an example of a talk that'd be better in person.
Yeah, this is definitely a better in-person talk. But so first and foremost,
You're doing fine, man.
Thank you. Woo.
I think this is a great online talk, because otherwise you'd be setting up some sort of camera to focus down on it and trying to project it at the same time. It'd be a huge pain. So, no, this is a great format.
Yeah, it's cool. Very cool.
And like I said, I absolutely apologize. Okay. Will screw come out? Screw does come out. So if anyone has any questions they want to throw at me, please go wide ahead.
Can you just give like a quick overview of what it is to install Core Boot? Because it seems like you have to physically interface with the motherboard.
Oh yeah, so hold on. First and foremost, we're going to prove that I am modifying the firmware for real. So first and foremost, if it's going to cooperate, yep. So this is stock firmware, it plain and simple. What we're doing is going to disassemble the motherboard. I'm almost done with. Okay, I have hit all the screws. So the SPI flash chip that I showed in my presentation, it's, god damn it. This here. We need to take a clip such as this, and we need to physically attach this clip because this is our way of flashing shit. I had this all rehearsed out.
Dude, that's sick. Once again, I never would have thought to like. I don't know. I guess hardware hacking is a new concept for me. This is fucking cool already.
Thanks, mate. Need all the encouragement I need to get. Okay, so if I can. Okay, so now I'm going to attempt to share screen again. Let's find my terminal. Okay, so now that we got the clip on, first we need to do let's just go up. So this command, flash ROM, is pretty much our utility to flash firmware, flash devices. So the PCH341A SPI, that's specifying the flasher. There's many different kinds of flashers out there. I know a while back we were talking about the Flipper Zero, the Kickstarter Ponagachi like thing. That also can work as a SPI flasher, for example. You can also use your Raspberry Pi as SPI interface after enabling it. There's a lot of different options for this. And then R is we're reading. So we need to take 2 backups because since we're using a physical interface, we want to verify that our flasher is actually properly attached. So, pardon me. Yeah, it takes a few tries to clip it on correctly. But once you have it clipped on, oh, I think I got it. No. It takes a few tries, especially with a lower quality clip. This is wonderful. When I say take a few tries, and also, why is my... There we go. Nope, there we go. And I forget that we also have to include chip definition. This is based off the chips that you're actually flashing to. So this chip in particular is the MX25L6405D. And now we're going to attempt to read the flash. So this may take a little while. So anyone else have any more questions to ask?
Yeah, I have a question. Can you tell us about the hardware that you're using that you have attached to your clip?
Oh yeah. So it's CH341A. It's you attach it's a USB flasher. You attach it to the device that you're using to flash, and you attach the clip to the device you're flashing. It flashes over the SPI interface. So I believe it's serial peripheral interface. Essentially, I can't think of the word I was trying to use. Yeah, it's a USB device essentially. So now
sorry to interrupt. I have a question about the chip that you're flashing. You showed it was on the motherboard, a laptop motherboard. Is this the BIOS chip, or what are you actually attached to?
Yes, so it is the BIOS chip actually. We are straight up going straight at the BIOS chip.
And just from what I'm seeing here, it looks like what you're doing is you're reading a copy of the current code that exists on that chip, correct?
Yep. Because we will be taking it and hopefully getting it. We're going to be using our dumps because we have to grab some stuff from the dumps to supply it to core boot.
Cool.
Very cool. If I was looking at my motherboard and I wanted to find the BIOS chip, how would I identify it? Just by sight, so I knew what to clip to.
So the easiest way is if you have a clip in hand, the clip will clip onto it'll be 8-pin chip generally. Sometimes it's 16 pins. Sometimes there's no pins exposed, and you're going to have to desolder the chip. So let me finish. Mainly, it's identifying that specific chip. There's going to be so many of them that it's sometimes you have to either look at the schematic, if you can find the schematic online, or just trial and error. Hopefully they have the right pinout.
Cool. Thank you much.
All right, so then looks like I have a friend here that's also talking about stuff. And yes, the bus pirate would also be usable. So we should now have x220 backup.rom, x220 backup2.rom. Since there's no difference, we will assume that hopefully it's good. You can always check for, you could do view in a hex editor, so you make sure it's not like all zeros or all FFs. But let me diff one more thing, because I have a known clean backup on here. Oh, that's not good. Okay, so we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to RM. I had this planned, definitely. So So we're now going to git clone the Corbett repository. And keep shitting me with questions. Want to make sure you all have a grasp for what the hell I'm doing.
Does core boot interface well with like mostly just like personal computers, or would you be able to flash it onto like a server motherboard?
Oh, that's a really good question, actually. So with that, one of the things I do know is that there's plenty of server motherboards that are supported by core boot. There's another project done by what's his name, but it's called Linux Boot. Essentially, it's preserving most of the EFI environment, if I understand it correctly. But is that the driver executable? I can't remember the DXE, which essentially is your UEFI, your primary UEFI environment, if for lack of better terms. It replaces that with just straight up Linux. So power your system on, and it's Linux. I believe also something dropped in the SecKC Slack. There should be an automated poll, but you guys should pick out your payload. I summarized each of the payloads because I knew that I was going to forget about it in the poll. But personally, go for grub. It's going to be fun. So, and I'm going to probably be cutting that off here soon. Let me pull up the Slack. If I can. Hey, Grub 2's currently the winner. So, CD core boot. I'm typing at a very weird angle here. I apologize. So first you need to make the cross compiler, which essentially makes sure that everyone's using the same tool chain, because each different distribution is going to have their own different build of GCC and various other utilities. So to rule out the error, rule out any problems, because there have been problems in the past before they really implemented cross GCC. We now have a universal tool chain, and you just need to make sure you select your architecture that we're targeting. We're going to do i386 because on at least most x86 systems, as I have noticed, i386 cross GCC will produce more stable results, and that's been widely agreed upon in the core boot community, as far as I understand. I could be absolutely wrong on that. Hold on. So we want to use 4 CPUs. This part could actually take a little while because you are compiling, your compilers. So once again, another great time for more questions.
Well, riddle me this. What would you think, or what is the reason why you would want to flash your firmware? What's I don't want to say wrong, but what's better with flashed firmware versus, say, stock?
It's actually mostly up to opinion, but with core boot, you can do many, many things. There's another project that I contribute to called Heads. Essentially does early boot up attestation of the system state. So it can check to make sure your system's in all known good state. Oh, yeah, Yep, that's another thing. Furthermore, manufacturers tend to abandon their systems very quickly, especially on consumer laptops. One of the things that I'd say annoys me the most is that manufacturer releases their laptops and doesn't provide microcode updates. And Daniel in the chat is also correct with that. Boot times can get very fast. I remember a while back when I was on Grub, from pressing the power button to getting to GDM3, which is login screen on stock Ubuntu, took 7 seconds on a SATA 2 SSD.
What if you have a system that's BIOS locked? Excuse me, like a password on the BIOS. Can you bypass it this way?
Yep, you can do that as well. Because it completely Core Boot doesn't do any BIOS passwords really, and each vendor does their own implementation of BIOS passwords. Like, for example, this system stores it in a dedicated chip, while the system that I'm actually doing all the, live demonstration work on stores it as a CMOS variable or a NVRAM variable, and would be cleared if you cleared your NVRAM.
Are there any vulnerabilities that you can think of that a penetration tester would be able to introduce to a system using this method and Core Boot?
There's plenty of ways. Thunder Spy, as mentioned before, but there's already plenty much better methods, because sure, anti-evil maid exists. You could do, well, not anti-evil maid, evil maid attacks exist. And of course, you could counter that with a lot of anti-evil maid measures in various different firmwares or operating systems, such as cubes and heads. But ultimately, yes, you can definitely do some really fun shit with it.
Awesome. Thank you.
You mentioned heads earlier as the firmware that you're working on. What's the difference between heads and tails?
Good question. Tails is a complete amnesiac distro, while heads is essentially you're putting it Linux kernel init-rd in your firmware and having it do everything it can to securely protect your system and make sure you know if your system's been tampered with. That's another thing you can actually do with Core Boot. You can actually directly embed a Linux kernel and init ramfs into the SPI flash or your BIOS chip. So as soon as your hardware's done doing basic init from Core Boot, he hands it over to the payload, which is literally Linux. Granted, I would recommend using that for your main system because it'd just be a pain to update constantly. Let's see if I missed any thing in the chat. Oh, so from Turk in the Zoom chat, I have a Dell R710 that crashes all the time. If it's a BIOS/UEFI issue, could this fix it? Yes. Essentially, just completely erases this. Your UEFI and BIOS are gone. It's going to be replaced with whatever Core Boot's providing. So it could potentially fix it. It could potentially not, depending if it's an even further issue. But if it's just strictly a BIOS or UEFI issue, it could potentially fix it, yes.
So there are some, I'm starting to see some systems come out with these SPI flash chips on them that have a security region on them. It's a small, like a 4K OTP ROM section And I'm wondering if you've run into those yet and what kind of obstacles those pose, if there are any.
I haven't actually personally run into them. Another thing that's been a big roadblock that's more that these systems probably have as well, which prevents them from ever getting, custom firmware in the first place, is Intel Boot Guard, which essentially pretty much negates any ability for us to flash core boot or another non-stock based firmware. But I have not seen the OTP, the 4K OTP systems in the wild yet, at least in my own experience.
Are there analogs to the Intel Boot Guard with, for example, AMD or other non-x86 architectures?
Yes. So AMD has PSP, and that does a whole slew of other things. I'm not really well versed on AMD. I don't. Full disclosure, I have never touched an AMD system really. Very well, a modern AMD system with PSP, I should say. But AMD does have it. Similar thing in place. Although there's work at Google going on because they're wanting to get Ryzen Chromebooks out. Chromebooks exclusively use Core Boot now. So they're working with AMD to get Core Boot up and running on these Ryzen systems, which is another great recommendation. If you ever want to try this stuff out, a Chromebook's your best bet. Modern system already runs Core Boot out of the box in a sense. It's a bit more locked down, but that's another way to go if you ever want to experiment with this, by the way. And then onto ARM. ARM has Trust Zone. That's another nightmare. But there's probably many other architectures I'm not thinking of. But and IBM Power. I heard this before we went live. Someone talked about IBM Power. IBM Power does not actually have any of this in place, especially anything that was after Open Power was formed, which is an organization that IBM and I believe I can't remember any other entities involved, but you can definitely flash custom firmware on there. Core Boot's not ported to Power yet, though, so if that answers your question. Oh, I see another question. Google adopted Core Boot early. Does it work on ARM too? From John Prunette in Zoom chat. Yes. There's only one ARM Chromebook that doesn't use Core Boot. Ooh, Sonelink, Mr. Chromebox. He makes pre-builds for different Core Boot Chromebook. Makes Tiana Core and CBIOS variants firmwares. I'm sorry. I'm blanking out again. So he makes Tiana Core CBIOS firmware for Chromebooks pre-built, so you can easily use his script to flash them. Totally recommend, by the way. I've used it on my own Chromebook way back in the day. Wow, this bin utils has taken forever.
So you said there was one Chromebook that didn't
there's
use
actually
Core Boot. Which is that?
There's actually 4. The first 3 Chromebooks, which are all Intel Atom based, if I recall. The first 3 Chromebooks use Inside H2C, which is a modified version of Inside H2O, which is a prominent BIOS. And then there's also the first Samsung ARM Chromebook, which exclusively uses U-Boot, which is also available as a core boot payload, by the way. Why is this taking so long?
Well, that's because it's a live presentation, and during live presentations, that's what happens.
You have a point.
BIOS never updates.
Yeah. This is why it took an hour.
No, absolutely. This has been super interesting. This is a lot of information that I didn't have before.
I have another presentation pipeline that I would love to do as well down the road, which is actually goes over heads. It's while it's not nearly as live demo as actual information sharing, it also would prove to be a very fun topic. So Ben Utils is still going. Yeah, I was planning to have 16 gigs of RAM in this current system that I had, because I got this current system I have without RAM. But it turned out the sticks were dead, so I had to resort to a single 8 gig stick. And it also doesn't help that I'm only on a dual core right now.
I love that you're saying that. My laptop is literally, and I'm not even kidding about this, a early 2008 MacBook. So,
hey, I have one of those too.
Yeah, but is the only laptop you have?
You do have a point. I have a bit of a problem. If you didn't notice my shelf of laptops.
Okay, so how do you organize your shelf of laptops? Because we had a long discussion about the proper way to do this.
Can you repeat that?
How do you organize your shelf of laptops? Because we had a long discussion about how to do this. I actually learned that a disk trainer is a great way to organize your laptops. I've always just done the stack.
Shit tops towards the bottom. Devices I may actually use closer to the top.
Fair enough.
Plus the occasional laptop that's not on the shelf. Ben Utils really doesn't like live presentations. That really likes it.
It just wants to stay on the screen a lot. That makes it feel important.
I mean, it is important. Don't get me wrong. But once we have this done, corporate doesn't take nearly as long to compile. Shoe Prime is my dad. He can't confirm my organization is really throw it somewhere.
So while it's doing this, tell us a little bit about your background. How old are you? What, like how'd you get started in this?
So I am 19. I am a incoming sophomore, computer engineering sophomore at the University of Kansas. So I started using Linux at around the age of 5. So that really kind of set me off like really early on. But I started getting to firmware around 8th grade, 9th grade in high school, whenever I believe Mr. Chromebox scripts originally came around when he first brought himself to the scene. And I flashed my first build of, not my own build, but I flashed Mr. Chromebox build onto my Toshiba Chromebook way back in the day. And ever since, it's just been a downward spiral. But yeah, I like playing around with hardware. Breaking stuff is fun, by the way.
Do you know Julie?
Pardon?
I said, do you know Julie?
I believe so.
She goes by Lauren. And she's
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Yep. I've gotten an email forwarded from you over an audit of our systems over at Crisis. It was great.
And it's good to be a CISO, let me tell you.
Are you over there smashing printers right now?
Hawk smash?
Man, it's
Just
good
for the
to be a
record.
CISO.
And it's good to be a system admin.
The name
Especially
he used
whenever, especially since my days are mostly taking a good look at Outlook. It's been lovely.
So tell us how you got into Linux at the age of 5.
My wonderful dad that's in this chat, he pretty much gave me a install disk, and it was like, install your operating system on your first computer. I think he handheld me through a bit, but
What OS was that? What operating system was that?
I believe it was Ubuntu 6.06.
Wrong.
I mean, it was the first late to ship. Come on, no one got the joke?
Wrong. You love peanut butter and bananas.
Thank you. Very cool. Oh, we got another fan. SecFan091. Would you recommend X220 as a first system to experiment with Core Boot, or are there better options? Depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for actually good laptop to use, X230, which is the successor to the X220, with pretty much identical chassis outside of a different stock keyboard, but you can even fix that. I totally would recommend the X230 over to X220. But if you also have a Chromebook laying around that you're not using, or even if you are using and want to just throw Linux on it, those are also amazing options as well. Ooh, cheap shitty ThinkPad. Yeah, the X220 works as a cheap shitty ThinkPad. And definitely does well with Core Boot. So, if you can find one for the right price, that is. Prices have been getting a bit abnormal lately, so your mileage may vary. Hey, we're now on to GCC. Yep. GCC says, hold my beer. Although I don't think GCC takes nearly as long as BitUtils. But we'll see.
I got you, Bill.
Look, I mean, I've been thinking it all night. So, I mean, I'm just glad someone else, you know, it's been running through my mind, you know. I'm just glad someone else recognized it.
I do. It's okay to be you.
Yeah, that's right.
We all love you.
Yeah, the
We all
funny
love
thing
everyone.
is, and I don't know if I told everyone, I probably should have warned everybody. I literally have been drinking since 2:00 today. I had 2 happy hours before SecKC, and I told my wife, I was like, "Oh, watch out, because I'm gonna have drank a lot tonight."
I'll say, Jerry, you're doing a great job so far. Since it's my first ever.
Oh, my
SecKC
name is Sebastian, by the way. I'm just under my.
Sebastian, I'm just going with the flow here. Okay. So.
Yeah, I'm using my dad's system. My bad.
Oh, without your parents' permission? Nice.
I mean, he's also watching, so.
Nice. Risky. Try not saying anything. Hey, yo, Dad. He bullied me outside of school.
Go beat him up.
I'm so proud of him.
Wait, talk about Dad's always a great influence.
That's why I love you, Dad. I'm sorry,
So-
Mr. Father's Day.
While we're waiting for this, when he was about 5 years old, he kept on messing up a Windows machine he had. So I debanned the hard drive and handed him a copy of Gen 2 and told him if he wanted a computer again, he had to compile his own kernel.
That's so awesome.
Oh, was that it? Oh,
What
yeah.
a good dad.
All right, I'm gonna buy a $5 best dad ever mug. Send me your address.
I mean, the dividends are
So
clearly
actually, I don't know if you
playing
guys caught this, and I think sorry, I just talked over you.
No.
But we just hit $5,000
No.
going to the EFF.
No way.
And he has to now, so Aaron now has to wear full makeup and shave and a dress. And there's no way that anybody can prove me wrong or say that I'm lying because there's no verification, but I'm calling it right now. We just hit 5,000, looks like looking 5,190, $5,123. It's unbelievable.
Should have gone deeper, man. If you wanted to keep the beard, should have gone deeper. Damn.
Everybody, the phone lines are
That's
open.
what she
Keep
said.
calling. We need those. We've got a matching set up right now. So
That's right.
donate
Actually,
those
that's
dollars.
I want to
That's a-
see Aaron in a dress.
Oh God, I don't. But I mean, I do. But whatever.
I mean, yeah, you know, it's an incentive, right? I mean, it raised $5,000 for EFF. That's sick. That's awesome. Like,
Yeah, we should probably check to see, like, if like maybe your employers match, and let's actually hit that. Well, actually, I'm going to take that back. We already hit it. We've already hit 5,000. Like,
let's hit 10.
yeah.
10,000?
Yeah.
What's the
If
goal?
employers are matching, dude, if employers are matching, it's already 10. Let's hit 20. Fuck it.
Hi, KU. Can you drop a bunch of money into the EFF real fast?
May as well. They got $1 billion.
There you go.
Maybe you can ask BAM to make a donation.
Fair.
Hey, Sebastian.
Yes.
What's the age range of your dad? And you find the perfect coffee mug.
He can answer for himself.
50, 75, 70, 40.
Try under 40.
Alrighty, some deals.
That makes so much sense. Dude, these dividends are really paying out. You guys are gonna have like $1 billion company in like 10, 15 years. I'm pretty sure.
So who else is on the stream that's not from Kansas City? Who else we got?
I believe Daniel is my friend. He's not from Kansas City. I know that.
Yo,
Hey, Michael, where are you from?
Maryville.
Cool. So have you made it to a SecKC?
Several. In fact, I think Jurist was the one that invited me because I loaned my MacBook out way back when at DEF CON for a presentation.
That's awesome.
Is Jurist here?
He actually just left. He was on earlier and he had to bounce, but
I want to compare what he looks like compared to his awesome. I just can't give his profile picture. I just love any Pope meme there is. I just love it. Dropping the beat. But no, I'm from St. Louis, although I just moved here to Overly July 6th. So good times. And I prefer it so much more. Everyone's nicer in Kansas City than St. Louis. Everyone's St. Louis is just like, can I help you?
Because y'all don't know how to drive down there.
That's true.
I'm in Lawrence, so I'm not far, but yeah, I'm real close by. I'm in Lawrence, Kansas.
Cool.
I'm based out in Olathe, but I'm going back to Lawrence here in less than 10 days. So
good luck with that, man. It's getting messy out here.
I have noticed.
Ryan, are you Ryan Berry Pie in chat?
Hey. Yeah. Guilty.
Oh damn, Jiggle Billy, you got that beard growing, dude.
Yeah, I've been going with the Bill had posted that link earlier, early in COVID. Like you can go wild or go. Yeah, I went wild.
Yeah, I might go with that too. I might be growing mine back. Like this goatee, I'm gonna do it just because I'm slight Sicilian Italian, but like now I'm kind of going like I kind of miss the full beard. I want to go back to my homeless look.
Rocket.
I was doing it, but I hated it, so I did away with it.
Nice.
So I started shaving mine off once I looked back at pictures that I've had a beard.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, for like 3 years or something, So, and I don't know if you guys have done this yet, but has anybody had a haircut? It's magical. It is it's amazing. And need to do it. Like Jiggle Billy, you especially, look at it. You're a monster.
You can go in a man bun.
Yeah.
There's those of us that don't cut our hair like ever.
Yeah. Well, you've always been a monster, so.
Hey, Bill, I can vouch for that, man. When I got a haircut at the end of July, I was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
I know. And you have to be like, look, I'm sorry for the moans and don't take any offense to it. Just awesome.
Look, they told me they had special rules. I didn't know what I was in for, but I was down.
I could really see Bill just kind of like, I can feel that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, she's like, do you want you want to wash out? Yep. Yep.
Naturally.
Shoulder massage? Yes, I do.
He just experiences like where my what was it called? Doctor Strange, like when he gets pushed out of his body. That's how he is.
Wow, that's vivid. That's vivid.
It's a very vivid experience he's had. And you could tell, and you could tell he really knows what's going on because that background of his is very organized. So
you talking about me?
Yeah, I'm talking about you.
All right, check this out.
Oh, here we go. I really thought that was an old telephone. No way.
Oh, I thought it was.
That is.
It's two old telephones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
when did you get the second one?
And so Lauren, you're not allowed to answer. You might not know the answer, but you're not allowed to answer just in case you do. Does anybody know what? Oh, and Rickson, Rickson's allowed to answer, but does anybody know what the silver payphone is?
I mean, it looks like some CIA shit. Like it looks like a federal building device.
Is it from the airport?
So
like where you call the
federal
taxi?
building was a really good hint, actually.
I thought it was just the thing I read from article about missing phone from London.
From a prison?
That is what a prison payphone looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, you win though. You win though,
hey,
Mister. If you're a secret agent, stand up.
Yeah, right. No, so they said I could have one phone call, so I took the phone.
You guys still have any of the glass sides that say phone?
What's that? I didn't hear you.
The glass sides from the pay phones that say actually say phone on them.
Right. So, and this one, that's just a normal payphone, but it was I bought it on eBay. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. I mean, I've had it for a long time, but it was $25 for the phone and $250 to get it shipped.
Yeah.
And I think Rickson stole the keypad. It was either Rickson or Noah maybe, and I think I saw him earlier. I don't know if he's still around, but the keypad's missing from the hackerspace, and they're totally easy to replace and everything like that. But I love the fact that it's missing. I love that. I love the fact that it's missing.
I'm not gonna lie to you. For one reason or another, those are actually like really catching display pieces. I mean, that's probably why you put them up. But like, yeah. I was kind of surprised when I saw that. Like, it was.
Yeah. So yeah, it was the COVID projects that everybody has. One of my projects was I'm going to make a background that when we're here and we're waiting for GCC to hold our beer, that we could have something to talk about.
Actually. I may have an idea. So I'm going to skip ahead and get the config going.
Cool.
So while GCC is doing its thing and bogging my system resources down, so first things first, this is Coreboot's menu config. I'm too lazy to go through and manually put together a text config. So we're now going to go through here, zip through, try to find X220. And so go and increase the CBFS. This essentially is the file system, if you will, of Coreboot. Let's give it however much that is. General. And let's just make sure I'm not missing anything. So essentially there's made effort, options, if you will. It's highly configurable. But where we're going here is that let's check the Slack again, because Grub 2 is still winning. So if I actually wait, that's not it. Grub 2. Secondary payloads. Let's throw in memtest 86 plus.
What type of abomination is this that has Lilo in it?
Memtest 86 plus probably will give false positives if we were to run it, but it's just for show. System tables, generic drivers, PS2 keyboard in it. You may want that since you have a laptop. Yeah, that looks actually mostly it. This step is like the easiest step. And now we still wait for GCC because we need this GCC before we can continue.
Are you able to flash firmware from like over SSH, for example?
If the device that you're connecting to through SSH has a physical flasher attached to it and has that physical flasher attached to another device via like a clip, yes.
Okay, so it would take the physical interface regardless, though?
Yep.
That makes sense. Cool.
That's kind of how it works with the Raspberry Pi. You have to SSH into the Raspberry Pi, which is why it's such a bitch to use the Raspberry Pi. But yeah, that would work. This is how you also could be able to do headless flashing if you have internal flashing enabled.
Cool.
Oh wait, I just realized I forgot something. So let's go back. Wait. So we need to. So CD util IFD tool, which analyzes the flash descriptor of the chip. And you can also use it to extract different regions. We need that to grab some blobs. So X220 backup. Hold on. Let's just pull up the help because you see different things there. So you can do dump. You can dump regions into flash layout file, which is kind of depreciated since you really don't need to use that flash layout file anymore. But what we want is dump. We may want to dump something. ls ls. Hey, so you have flash region 0, flash descriptor, BIOS, and Intel ME. So another thing that we can do is / me cleaner ls. Okay, so Python me cleaner help or Python 3. Fucking semantics. So you can do soft disable. Relocate and truncate. The descriptor. And we want the output descriptor to be core boot ifd.bin. Oh, I forgot to, do the rest of the command. M would be the output ME region. So core boot me.bin. And then we want the output file blah.bin because we don't need this file. And we need our input file. So x220 backup.rom and then ls core boot. And we now have an me.bin and an ifd.bin that are truncated and stripped out of most of the Intel Management Engine components. So we tell Intel to go fuck themselves instead of them telling us to go fuck ourselves. Oh yeah, I almost guarantee that since there's apparently going to be more than one part of the Intel leak, there's already part 1.5 that's been roaming around. I guarantee that eventually we're going to be seeing Intel Management Engine code. So, oh, by the way, with regards to that Intel leak, someone was able to do Control F, backdoor, and get results. Very reassuring. And GCC is still being, wonderful. Yeah, that may help. ls make menu config. And then we want to go general setup. Okay. Chipset. There we go. Then we just want ifd.bin because we need to specify the regions that we're going to be using. We are going to use me.bin, and note that the file that we put in here starts at the build, the repository of the core boot repository, your local copy, and then gigabit Ethernet. I need to copy this file over, but we grabbed it from the IFD tool extraction. So there, and move dot dot slash flash region. Oh. Okay. Do we not have a gigabit Ethernet region? No. We're missing gigabit Ethernet region. That's fine. We just don't have Ethernet. Don't do this at home, kids. Yes. So now that damn. So while we still wait for GCC to finish its thing, ask me some more questions because I just did a bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. Oh yes, definitely. My Chromebook, my original Toshiba Chromebook that I flashed back in like freshman year of high school, that hit end of life like 1 or 2 years ago. After reflashing to firmware, as well as reflashing to firmware on my sister's, I put myself on Linux on that Chromebook. Granted, I don't use that Chromebook anymore, really, but my sister that still uses her Chromebook, I put on Neverware's Cloud Ready, and it's still providing her some service, and it's still getting security updates. So yeah, it's definitely one way to extend lifespan of Chromebook or Chromebox. You can actually do via CBIOS. You can use PXE boot via IPXE. You can integrate IPXE into CBIOS. Yes, totally. I know I actually, when I first tried out building my own build a core boot, at the time I also had my own dedicated PXE booting server. So I was having lots of fun with that. Being able to pretty much PXE boot on CBIOS via IPXE integrated into it. And yes, only do this at home, kids. Prod. If the core boot build tree behaves, sure, it's great for prod. When it doesn't, it's wonderful. And I have a cat meowing at my door.
So I saw whenever you were doing the make menu config, you had to choose a specific platform or this specific model of machine.
Yep.
And there are a ton of models on there. What does it take into creating a new model?
It can range from being very, very simple to I give up level of difficulty. Some models, if they're identical enough, you can mostly copy paste stuff over and just replace the GPIO. I don't have too terribly much experience with this myself, but it can essentially, you need to be able to have a model that supports either the already existing platforms or what was it? You have what was it? Oh, but essentially, it can be very complicated. You need to have something that supports the current existing platforms or have the ability to port platforms. There's one platform using the chipset i965. That platform, any documentation behind the i965 chipset is under NDA. So if you ever want to port a device, such as your early 2008 MacBook, you're going to have to be able to figure out how to port i965's chipset into a working supported chipset for core boot, essentially.
So kind of along with this, building a platform, does that mean that different platforms will have different levels of functionality? I guess like different levels of like completeness of support.
Yes, definitely. But what was it? There was another ThinkPad. USB devices weren't being very cooperative. Power management was mucked. It was it can range from very stable, like Chromebooks, to very unstable, like a brand new, very early development platform. Yeah. GCC is still wanting to. I know we're starting to lose some people, but once I have this going, I should be able to just run make. If make doesn't work, then I have a fallback strategy. Don't worry. Do not worry. Because main reason but main reason why I'm wanting to try this with Grub is because there's some things you could do with Core Boot as well that I want to show off. There's a concept of a secondary payload. Essentially, a payload, some payloads can execute other payloads, and it's really fun. And it can also get very messy. Grub is one of those payloads that lets you not only boot your Linux install, but it can let you go into other Core Boot. Not Core Boot, payloads. Hold on. Oh, let me just get this thing reattached because I knocked it over earlier, and I'd rather not spend another 10 minutes trying to reattach it. All right. Maybe I should have said hour 30.
It's all good. That's why you got to go last. This totally works.
I do suppose. I do thank you all for hanging in here. It's been one bumpy ride, but we should have Grub as our payload soon. If not, then I have a backup ROM that, while it is not Grub, it will definitely showcase, definitely not stock firmware. And I'll give make one go. Yes. More cores would always be appreciated in my life. And I just knocked over the clip again. There we go. All right, now I have the flash chip attached for whenever GCC finally gets done.
While we're sitting here, I got multiple pie holes that I use at my house here, and I on GitHub there's a gravity sync script that synchronizes data from a master, if you will, to subordinate pie holes, because it becomes a pain in the ass having a whitelist or blacklist on multiple devices. Anyway, I got that set up and working tonight, so
neat.
Just FYI for other people out there thinking about doing it. Anyway, DNS servers that are in sync are good DNS servers. Now, what's I'll put the link in the chat. Let me find it.
All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip the GCC part for now. I don't think it's going to finish anytime soon. I'm starting to lose faith in that. So we are going to now just flash one of my backups of another ROM that I had, the original ROM I had on here before I prepared for today. So first thing it does is read the original flash chip contents. It essentially takes a dump, and then it calculates the hash of that. And then after it does that, it will then write to the chip. And whenever it's done with that, it then takes a dump of it again. Wait, no, we don't calculate the hash originally. We just calculate the hash, not hash. Yes, we take, yeah, we actually do. We take the hash of the original one and then check to make sure it's not the exact same as the one we're currently flashing, just so we don't wear down the flash chip. But it then writes to it and then takes another dump of the newly written flash chip and then checks to make sure that it wrote correctly. Now we're erasing and writing. I believe this actually is technically a two-step process because I believe at first he writes, then it writes. Oh, good question. How many write cycles can these chips take? I don't think they're actually necessarily rated, but they're significantly less than many. If you write to them enough, if you write to them like once a day, they probably will be gone within a year if my estimate is correct. But I don't think that's generally rated because that's not something you normally are supposed to do. That is a good question, actually. Although, I have done plenty of writing on a lot of these chips, and they have survived lots of abuse. So
I feel like Rickson could give us an exact number of times we could write for some reason.
Well, funny you mentioned that. I'm looking at a data sheet on one right now, and it's showing 100K writes.
All right.
There you go. It's not bad.
That's actually really good. So if you write multiple times a day, like 100 times a day, we may have some problems.
Yeah, so I mean, as a comparison to other things that we work with, every day, RAM is obviously like, continuous writes, basically virtually infinite. Flash that we deal with on like SSDs, NVMe drives, that kind of stuff. That even has, I think, probably a higher wear rate, but these are lower cost, lower durability than what we see in like high-end consumer or even commercial equipment. So like the stuff that we're seeing right now are like they're warranted for 5 years. That's 5 years of continuous writes, basically. So they're rated in like petabytes a day on like SSDs and stuff. So, but yeah, these 100,000 drive writes for the lifetime device writes is, it's still a lot for if we're going to flash this stuff. If you want to do a new core boot like every hour, that's still a significant lifetime.
Although if you do plan to do this like really, really long term and plan to do this multiple times a day, maybe invest in getting some additional chips. Especially if you plan long term, as in like at least three writes a day, 3 or 4, maybe even 5 writes a day for multiple years. If you want that single device to last that long, flash chips are also cheap. especially SPI. We're verifying flash. But yeah, SPI flash chips are like really cheap if I recall. So if you have a soldering iron or a hot air gun, it's not a big deal. You can also do that. You can also replace all your BIOS chips with sockets. I have one device that's like that. When we say using heat gun, I mean making sure you're not like maxing out heat and having just the entire board drenched in heat, of course.
That sounds like something you learned the hard way.
I prefer not to comment on that part.
Yeah.
It sounds like something you don't intend to learn the hard way.
Right.
All right. So now I'm going to enable my video feed again. Let's see. Oh, that's right. I need to stop sharing on my end. Where is... I think my main window for oh, never mind, it's right there. I'm blind. So now let me switch my video over to pointing at the laptop, maybe. So we're just going to go ahead and skip grub. I don't need to keep everyone for as long. So, oh, may help if I have the battery in it. Don't mind me. And that is definitely not stock BIOS, by the way. And this is a full Linux environment. This is the Heads project I was talking about earlier. And of course, one day I'll have a presentation over this. And it won't be live demo, so I may meet time estimate that time. But we have, I think we have LSPCI. Yes, we do. And we have VI. So I could technically write, but I think that gets the point across. I think with mission accomplished with caveats.
That is rad. And you totally made time because you said an hour to an hour and a half, and here we are. So you're solid, man. That was incredible. Thank you.
No problem. And GCC is still not done, by the way. Let's just kill that. But yeah, I guess that'll do it.
Dude, Sebastian, I just gotta tell you, man, I had never heard of this before. And so like, and as you were talking, like, I think we're probably like, oh, I've got that one box or whatever that maybe I could do that on. And I know that one's, I've got one. So dude, I appreciate it. It was really, really cool. Thanks for walking us through it.
No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. So many projects were just born.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure we're all going to be inside for a while. So
you just killed a lot of people's weekends.
Yeah.
Or made them more interesting. It could go either way.
Yeah.